Ambassador Lee Taman walked through the long metal hallways of the massive space station. His black shoes made soft clicking sounds on the shiny floor. Behind him, Colonel Park Nari and Dr. Kim Do-yun followed quietly. The three humans looked small next to the huge walls and ceiling of the alien station. The Galactic Council station was bigger than any city on Earth. It floated in space near a planet called Kepler 442b. 47 different alien species had built this place together over 300 years ago. Today, Lee Taman was here to speak for all humans on Earth. "Are you ready for this?" Park Nari asked quietly. She was a soldier who had fought in wars on Mars. Her uniform was clean and pressed, but her hand stayed near her weapon out of habit. "As ready as we can be," Lee Taman replied. He carried a small bag with important papers from Earth's government. These papers would shock the aliens in ways they could not imagine. Dr. Kim Do-hyun looked around with wide eyes. He had studied alien technology for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this station. Strange lights moved along the walls. The air smelled different here, like metal and something sweet. Aliens of all shapes and sizes walked past them, but most ignored the humans. They reached a huge door made of some kind of blue crystal. The door opened without making any sound. Inside was the council chamber, a round room so big that Lee Taman could barely see the other side. Seats rose up in circles like an old Roman theater. Each seat was different, made for different types of alien bodies. In the center of the room stood an old alien called Counselor Methus. He was from a species called the Velthari. His skin looked like tree bark, and his eyes glowed with a soft green light. He was over 400 years old and had welcomed 12 different species into the council. "Welcome, humans of Earth," Counselor Methus said. His voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. "We are happy that you have come to join our great family of worlds." Lee Taman bowed politely. "Thank you, Counselor Methus. We are honored to be here." Around the room, representatives from 47 different alien species watched the humans. Some looked like giant insects. Others were made of what seemed like living water. A few looked almost human, but with extra arms or different colored skin. All of them expected the same thing to happen that had happened 47 times before. Counselor Methus raised one of his long arms. The room became completely quiet. "Humans of Earth, your species has shown great promise. You have built cities, traveled to other planets, and created wonderful art and music. The Galactic Council would like to offer you membership in our alliance." Lee Taman nodded but said nothing. "Of course," Counselor Methus continued, "all new species must prove they are ready for such a great honor. You must show us your technology, your culture, and your military strength. After that, there will be a waiting period of 50 years. During this time, older council members will help guide your species. Then, if you prove worthy, you will get limited voting rights." A few aliens in the audience made approving sounds. This was how it had always been done. New species always felt grateful for the chance to join. They always agreed quickly to any terms the council offered. Lee Taman opened his small bag and took out a single sheet of paper. He looked at it for a moment, then looked up at Counselor Methus. "Counselor Methus, honored members of the Galactic Council," Lee Taman began. His voice was calm and clear. "We have thought long and hard about your generous offer." Counselor Methus smiled, showing teeth that looked like small crystals. "We knew you would see the wisdom in joining us." "Actually," Lee Taman said, "humanity respectfully declines your offer. We withdraw our application for council membership. The room exploded with noise. Aliens jumped up from their seats. Some made sounds like angry birds. Others buzzed like giant bees. A few of the water aliens started changing colors rapidly. Counselor Methys stared at Lee Taman for a long moment. His green eyes stopped glowing. "I am sorry, Ambassador. I do not think I heard you correctly. Did you say you refuse our offer?" "That is correct," Lee Taman replied calmly. "Earth thanks the Galactic Council for considering us, but we have decided that membership is not right for humanity at this time." An insect-like alien with 6 arms stood up quickly. "This is impossible. No species has ever refused council membership." A blue-skinned alien with 4 eyes shook her head. "They must not understand what they are giving up. Without council protection, they will be destroyed by hostile forces." Park Nari stepped forward slightly. Her soldier training told her that some of these aliens might become dangerous, but Lee Taman held up his hand, and she stopped. "We understand perfectly," Lee Taman said. "We know about the protection, the technology sharing, and the trade benefits. We have studied your council for many years, but Earth has chosen a different path." Dr. Kim Do-yun watched the aliens carefully. He could see fear in many of their faces. These beings had lived under the Council's protection for so long that they could not imagine anyone wanting to live differently. Counselor Methys raised his arms again. The room slowly became quiet, but aliens still whispered to each other in dozens of different languages. "Ambassador Lee Taman," Counselor Methys said slowly, "perhaps you need more time to think about this decision. This is not something to be decided quickly." "We have had 20 years to think about it," Lee Taman replied. "Ever since we first received your messages, we have been preparing for this moment. Our answer is final." The old Velthari counselor looked confused and worried. In 400 years of life, he had never seen anything like this happen. "But why?" asked a small alien who looked like a walking flower. "Why would any species choose to be alone in a dangerous galaxy?" Lee Taman looked around the room at all the watching faces. "Because sometimes the greatest danger is not being alone. Sometimes the greatest danger is never learning to stand on your own." He put the paper back in his bag and bowed again. "Thank you for your time, honored council. We wish you peace and prosperity." As the 3 humans walked toward the exit, the council chamber erupted in chaos behind them. Representatives shouted questions and arguments. Some demanded that the humans be stopped. Others wondered if humanity was making a terrible mistake. But Lee Taman, Park Nari, and Kim Do-yun walked calmly through the crystal door and back into the long hallway. They had done what they came to do. Now, the real work would begin. 3 days passed after the humans left the council station. Counselor Methys could not sleep well. He kept thinking about Ambassador Lee Taman's calm face when he said no to council membership. In 400 years, Methys had never seen anything like it. The emergency council meeting was the largest in 50 years. Every species sent their best representatives. The huge chamber was full of worried voices speaking in dozens of languages. Some aliens were angry, others were scared. All of them were confused. "This is madness," said Ambassador Krill from the Zentani species. He looked like a tall, thin human with silver skin and no hair. "No intelligent species would choose to be alone in space. The humans must be sick in their minds." Ambassador Hydros floated in a tank of blue water near the center of the room. His species lived in Earth's oceans long ago, before they left for the stars. Perhaps their water is poisoned, he said through his translator. Bad water can make a whole species think wrongly. The insect-like Kythera representative clicked her 6 arms together. I think they are simply too stupid to understand what they are giving up. We should send teachers to explain things better. But not everyone agreed. A young Velthari named Jorin stood up from his seat. Maybe the humans see something we do not see. Maybe they know something we have forgotten. The older council members looked at Jorin with surprise. Young voices were not often heard in these meetings. Councillor Methus raised his arm for silence. We must try again. Perhaps the humans did not understand our offer completely. I will send a new team to Earth to speak with their leaders directly. Ambassador Krill volunteered to lead the mission. He was known for being good at talking to difficult species. With him would go Dr. Yoon Hana, a human woman who had joined the Council's education program years ago. She now worked as a bridge between human and alien thinking. Dr. Yoon Hana felt torn inside. She had lived with aliens for so long that she sometimes forgot what it felt like to be fully human. But she also remembered Earth and the independent spirit that humans were famous for. She agreed to help, hoping she could understand why her own species had made such a shocking choice. The journey to Earth took 2 weeks in Ambassador Krill's ship. Dr. Yoon Hana spent most of the time trying to explain human culture to the aliens on the team. It was harder than she expected. Humans value freedom above safety, she told them. They would rather make their own mistakes than let others protect them. Ambassador Krill shook his silver head. But that is so wasteful. Why learn painful lessons when others can teach you the easy way? When they reached Earth, they were surprised by what they saw. The planet looked different from their last visit. New space stations surrounded it like a metal ring. Ships that looked nothing like Council designs moved between Earth and its moon. The technology seemed more advanced than it should be. President Choi Sung-ho met them in the capital city of Seoul. He was a short, serious man with gray hair and kind eyes. With him was Defense Minister Ryu Jin-woo, a former space admiral who looked like he could still fight in a war. The meeting took place in a simple room with white walls and wooden furniture. Ambassador Krill was used to grand halls and golden decorations. This plain room made him uncomfortable. President Choi, Ambassador Krill began, the Galactic Council is worried about your decision. We think there may have been a misunderstanding. President Choi smiled politely. There was no misunderstanding, Ambassador. We knew exactly what we were doing. Ambassador Krill looked confused. But surely you realize the benefits of Council membership. We can share technology that would advance your civilization by thousands of years. We can protect you from hostile alien species. We can give you access to trade with thousands of worlds. Defense Minister Ryu Jin-woo leaned forward. And what would we have to give up for these benefits? Give up? Ambassador Krill looked surprised. You would not give up anything. You would only gain. Would we keep our independence? President Choi asked. Of course. All council members are independent. Would we be free to develop our own technology in our own way? Ambassador Krill hesitated. Well, dangerous technologies are forbidden. The Council guides all research to keep everyone safe. Would we be free to explore space without asking permission? New colonies must be approved by the Council to prevent conflicts. President Choi and Defense Minister Ryu Jin-woo looked at each other. Dr. Yoon Hana could see understanding pass between them. Ambassador Krill, President Choi said gently, you are a good man, and your offer comes from kindness. but we have watched your council for 20 years. We have seen what happens to species that join. What do you mean? Ambassador Krill asked. Defense Minister Ryu Jinwoo answered. We have studied your history. When the Corvani joined 300 years ago, they were great inventors. Now they make nothing new. When the Zentani joined, they were brave explorers. Now they ask permission to visit their own moons. But they are safe, Ambassador Krill protested. They are protected and prosperous. They are children, President Choi said firmly. The Council has made them into children who cannot think for themselves. We will not let that happen to humanity. Dr. Yoon Hana felt her heart beating fast. She remembered feeling proud of human independence when she was young. But she also remembered the fear of being alone in a dangerous galaxy. What about protection? She asked. There are hostile species out there. The Khazari Empire, the Shadow, Fleet, others. How will you survive without Council protection? Defense Minister Ryu Jinwoo smiled for the first time. Dr. Yoon, you have been away from Earth for a long time. Would you like to see what we have built? They took a transport to a hidden military base on the far side of the moon. What Dr. Yoon Hana saw there made her gasp. Rows of sleek warships filled huge hangars. Soldiers in advanced armor trained with weapons she had never seen before. Computer. Systems hummed with artificial intelligence that the Council had banned centuries ago. How is this possible? Ambassador Krill whispered. These technologies, they are forbidden. Forbidden by whom? Defense Minister Ryu Jinwoo asked. We never agreed to follow Council laws. We have been preparing for this day since we first received your messages. Dr. Yoon Hana walked among the ships in wonder. They were beautiful and terrible at the same time. She could see technology from dozens of alien species, but it was all changed, improved, made uniquely human. You have been reverse engineering our diplomatic gifts, she realized. President Choi nodded. Every piece of technology the Council sent as friendship gifts, we studied and improved. We learned from your science, but we made it our own. Ambassador Krill looked pale. His silver skin had turned almost white. The Council will not accept this. They will demand that you destroy these weapons and submit to proper guidance. Then the Council will be disappointed, President Choi said calmly. That night, Dr. Yoon Hana could not sleep. She stood on a balcony looking up at Earth's moon, where humanity's secret fleet waited in the shadows. She thought about her years with the Council, learning alien wisdom and alien ways, but she also thought about the pride in President Choi's voice when he talked about human independence. For the first time in years, she wondered if she had made the wrong choice when she left Earth. She wondered if the Council really was the paradise she had believed in, or if it was just a beautiful cage that kept entire species from growing up. Ambassador Krill sent a long message back to the Council station that night. He told them about humanity's hidden preparations and their refusal to reconsider. He told them about the weapons and the artificial intelligence and the stubborn pride that seemed to drive every human decision, but he did not tell them about the doubt that was growing in his own mind. He did not tell them about the question that kept him awake. What if the humans were right? News of humanity's rejection spread across the galaxy like fire. On 1,000 different worlds, aliens gathered around their communication devices to hear the impossible story. A species had said no to the Galactic Council. It had never happened before. On the water world of Aquarius Prime, the Hydros leaders held emergency meetings in their deep ocean cities. The humans have lost their minds, declared Elder Wavecrest. Without Council protection, they will be destroyed within a year. On the desert planet, Kirion, the insect-like Kythera workers stopped their endless building projects to discuss the strange news. Perhaps the humans are more stupid than we thought, buzzed Hive Mother Zaxth. Only fools would choose danger over safety, but not everyone saw it the same way. On the forest world of Verdania, young Velthari scholars gathered in secret meetings. "What if the humans see something we cannot see?" whispered a student named Lyran. "What if the council is not as perfect as we have been taught?" The most dangerous reaction came from the Khazari Empire. In their dark ships hidden in the space between stars, Khazari war leader Vorthak studied the reports with hungry eyes. The Khazari were not part of the council. They were raiders and conquerors who respected only strength. The humans think they can stand alone. Vorthak growled to his officers. "We will show them how wrong they are. If the council will not protect them, then they belong to whoever is strong enough to take them." Meanwhile, on Earth, investigative journalist Minje was working on the biggest story of his career. For months, he had been following rumors about secret government projects. Now, with humanity's rejection of the council making headlines, people were asking harder questions about what their leaders had been doing. Minje's investigation started with small clues. Construction workers who had built underground facilities but were sworn to secrecy. Scientists who had disappeared from universities to work on classified projects. Military officers who had been promoted for missions that officially never happened. The breakthrough came when a former engineer named Lee Kyu-hyun agreed to meet Minje in a quiet coffee shop. Kyu-hyun looked nervous, checking over his shoulder every few minutes. "I helped build the quantum communication network," Kyu-hyun whispered. "It connects every human colony in space without using council technology. We can talk to ships 20 light years away in real time." "That's impossible," Minje said. "Even the council doesn't have instant communication over such distances." "The council stopped trying to improve their technology 300 years ago," Kyu-hyun replied. "They think their way is perfect, so they never look for better solutions. But humans never stop looking." Over the next week, Minje spoke with dozens of people. Each one revealed another piece of the puzzle. Earth had not just been preparing for council membership, they had been preparing to reject it. The artificial intelligence program was the most shocking discovery. Dr. Kang Woo-jin, the head of Earth's cyber warfare division, had built computer systems that could think and learn faster than any biological brain. The Council had banned such technology after an AI rebellion destroyed 2 star systems centuries ago. "Our AIs are different," Dr. Kang explained to Minje in a secure government facility. "We built them to work with humans, not replace them. They help us design better ships, plan better strategies, and solve problems faster than any council species can imagine." Admiral Baek Soo-young was the biggest secret of all. For 10 years, she had been building and training humanity's first independent space fleet. Her ships were hidden in asteroid belts and behind moons, invisible to council sensors. Minje published his story on the same day that the Khazari fleet arrived at the edge of human space. The timing was perfect and terrible. As humans read about their government's secret preparations, alien warships were already moving toward Earth. The Khazari fleet was massive, 200 ships of different sizes, all armed with weapons designed to destroy planets. War leader Vorthak sent a simple message to Earth. "Surrender now, and we will make your slavery quick and easy. Resist, and we will burn your cities to ash." President Choi Seung-ho called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council. General Kang Woo-jin showed computer projections of the Khazari fleet's strength. The numbers looked hopeless. Even with their secret weapons, humanity was outnumbered 4-1. "We could surrender," suggested one council member. "The Khazari might let some humans live as workers." "No," said Defense Minister Ryu Jinwoo firmly. "We did not reject the Council's protection just to bow to the first bully who shows up. If we are going to be free, we must be willing to fight for that freedom." Admiral Baek Soo-young stood up from her chair. She was a small woman with gray hair and calm eyes, but everyone in the room respected her completely. "The Khazari think they know how to fight humans," she said quietly. "They are wrong." Her fleet consisted of only 47 ships, but each one was a masterpiece of human engineering. They were fast, smart, and armed with weapons that adapted to any threat. Most importantly, they were controlled by artificial intelligence that could coordinate attacks with perfect timing. The battle happened near Jupiter, far enough from Earth to protect the planet, but close enough for the whole solar system to watch. News reporters from across the galaxy pointed their cameras at the space where two very different ideas about warfare would meet. The Khazari attacked in their traditional way. Their ships formed a massive wall and moved forward together, firing everything they had at the human fleet. It was a simple but effective strategy that had conquered a dozen worlds. Admiral Bayek's response surprised everyone. Her ships did not fire back. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving in patterns that seemed random but were actually perfectly coordinated by their AI systems. The human ships danced around the Khazari like birds around a giant beast. They used advanced sensors to map every enemy weapon and defense. They shared information instantly through quantum communication networks. Most importantly, they learned and adapted with every passing second. When the humans finally attacked, it was not with traditional weapons. They used electromagnetic pulses that shut down Khazari ship systems. They released nanobots that ate through armor plating. They hacked into enemy computers and turned Khazari weapons against their own fleet. Within 2 hours, every Khazari ship was floating dead in space. Not a single human ship had been destroyed. War leader Vorthak found himself trapped in a powerless vessel, surrounded by the small human fleet he had thought would be easy prey. Admiral Bayek opened a communication channel to the crippled Khazari flagship. "War leader Vorthak," she said politely, "your ships are disabled, but your crews are alive. We will repair your life support systems and give you enough power to return home. Tell your people that humans prefer peace, but we are ready for war." The news of the Khazari defeat reached the Galactic Council within hours. Councillor Mathis sat in his private chambers, staring at the reports with disbelief. A human fleet of less than 50 ships had defeated one of the galaxy's most feared military forces without firing a single deadly shot. Ambassador Krill, who had recently returned from Earth, knocked on Methis's door. "Counselor, the other species are asking questions. They want to know how the humans became so powerful so quickly." Methis looked up at his old friend. "I think we have been asking the wrong question, Krill. We keep wondering how the humans learned to fight so well. We should be asking why we forgot how to grow." Across the galaxy, young members of Council species were asking the same question. The human victory had shown them something they had never considered before. Maybe safety was not worth the price. They had been paying for it. Maybe it was time to remember what it felt like to stand on their own. The defeat of the Khazari fleet changed everything. For 300 years, the galaxy had been quiet and peaceful under Council rule. Now, suddenly, everyone was talking about independence, freedom, and the right to choose their own path. Corvani Prime. Young engineer Dex Brightforge put down his tools and stared at the holographic display showing the battle near Jupiter. His species had once been the greatest inventors in the galaxy. They had built machines that could reshape planets and ships that could travel between dimensions, but that was before they joined the Council. "Look what the humans built in just 20 years, Dex said to his work partner, an older Corvani named Flux Ironmind. "Our ancestors would have been ashamed of us. We have not invented anything new in 400 years. Flux Ironmind looked nervous. "Do not speak such thoughts, young one. The Council provides everything we need. Innovation is dangerous. The old ways led to wars and destruction." But Dex was not alone in his thinking. Across Corvani Prime, young engineers were having the same conversation. They remembered the old stories their grandparents told about the days when Corvani creativity filled the galaxy with wonders. Now they spent their days maintaining ancient machines and following safety protocols that never changed. Similar conversations were happening on every Council world. On Velthari colonies, young scholars questioned why their ancient wisdom never found new answers. On Zentani trading stations, pilots wondered why they needed permission to explore uncharted space. Even among the peaceful hydros, swimmers in the deep oceans began to dream of what lay beyond their protected waters. The Council leaders were worried. Emergency meetings happened every day. Species representatives demanded answers to questions that had not been asked in centuries. How? Had the humans become so powerful? Why had the Council not seen this coming? Most importantly, were the humans right to reject membership? Councillor Methus called for Earth's greatest philosopher to address the Council directly. Dr. Song Hyemin was known throughout human space for her brilliant ideas about freedom, growth, and the nature of civilization itself. She was also known for speaking truth even when people did not want to hear it. Dr. Song arrived at the Council station in a human ship that looked like nothing the aliens had ever seen. It was beautiful and strange, with flowing curves that seemed to change shape as it moved. The technology was clearly human, but it incorporated ideas from dozens of alien cultures, all transformed into something entirely new. The Council chamber was more crowded than it had been in 50 years. Representatives from every species attended, along with observers, reporters, and young aliens who had never been allowed in such meetings before. The air buzzed with tension and excitement. Dr. Song was a small woman with white hair and bright eyes that seemed to see everything. She walked to the center of the chamber without fear, even though she was surrounded by beings who could crush her with their thoughts. "Honored members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice clear and strong, "you have asked me to explain why humanity rejected your generous offer. The answer is simple, but I fear you will not like it." Councillor Methus leaned forward. "Please, Dr. Song, help us understand." "You offer us a seat at your table," Dr. Song said, looking around the chamber. "But we have built our own house. You promise us protection, but we have learned to protect ourselves. You speak of civilization, but we see stagnation dressed as stability." Angry sounds came from some of the older Council members. But the younger aliens listened with fascination. "For 300 years, Dr. Song continued, your Council has kept peace by keeping everyone the same. You have prevented war by preventing growth. You have eliminated risk by eliminating choice. This is not civilization. This is a very comfortable prison." Ambassador Krill stood up. "But look at the suffering that independence brings. The humans have already faced attack. Without our protection, more violence will come. You are correct, Dr. Song replied calmly. Independence is dangerous. Freedom has a price, but slavery is more dangerous, even when the chains are made of gold and safety. She turned to address the younger aliens directly. How many of you have dreamed of building something new? How many have wondered what lies beyond the borders your protectors have drawn? How many have felt the fire of curiosity burning in your hearts only to be told that curiosity is dangerous? Many young aliens looked down at their feet. They all knew that feeling. The humans have not rejected the Council because we hate you, Dr. Song said. We have rejected the Council because we love our children too much to steal their future from them. We want them to reach for the stars, not wait for permission to dream. As Dr. Song spoke, Lieutenant Colonel Im Hajun was busy in another part of the station. His job was to gather information about what was really happening in Council space. What he discovered was shocking. Despite official Council policy against trading with independent humans, 30% of Council worlds were secretly buying human technology and products. Human innovations in medicine, engineering, and art were spreading through the galaxy faster than the Council could stop them. The Corvani government publicly condemned human independence, but privately they were studying human AI technology. The Zentani Council representative spoke against human exploration, but Zentani merchants were already buying maps of space regions that humans had discovered beyond Council borders. Even more surprising, human colonies were growing rapidly. Young aliens from Council worlds were leaving their safe homes to join human settlements where they could work, create, and explore without asking permission. These colonies were becoming centers of innovation and discovery that the Council worlds had not seen in centuries. Dr. Song's speech was broadcast across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, beings who had lived their entire lives under Council, protection heard a different way of thinking about life and freedom. The reaction was immediate and powerful. On Velthari colonies, young scholars organized discussion groups to talk about human philosophy. On Corvani worlds, engineers began working on secret projects that broke Council safety regulations. On Zentani trading stations, pilots started planning unauthorized exploration missions. The Council tried to control the spread of these dangerous ideas. They increased censorship of communication networks. They passed new laws against unauthorized contact with human space. They even considered using military force to stop young aliens from leaving Council worlds. But it was too late. The idea of independence had been planted in too many minds. Dr. Song's words had awakened something that had been sleeping for 300 years, the desire to be free. Captain Lim Seojin commanded humanity's first diplomatic vessel designed entirely with human technology. His ship, the New Horizon, was sent to meet with alien groups who wanted to learn more about independence. Everywhere he went, he found the same thing. Young aliens who were tired of being protected and guided and controlled. Some wanted to leave Council space entirely. Others hoped to reform the Council from within. All of them shared the same dream that Dr. Song had spoken about, the right to choose their own path, even if that path was difficult and dangerous. The Council was facing its first real crisis in 3 centuries. For the first time since its founding, member species were questioning whether safety was worth the price they were paying for it. Some Council leaders wanted to use force to stop the independence movements. Others argued for compromise and reform. But, as reports came in from across the galaxy, one thing became clear. The old order was ending. The age of the Council's absolute authority was over. What would replace it, no one knew, but humanity had lit a fire that would not be easily put out. Young aliens across the galaxy looked up at the stars with new eyes. For the first time in their lives, they wondered what they might discover if they were free to look for themselves. 2 years had passed since humanity shocked the galaxy by rejecting council membership. The universe was no longer the same quiet, ordered place it had been for 3 centuries. Independence movements burned like stars across dozens of worlds. Young aliens spoke of freedom and self-determination. The rigid structure that had kept peace through control was cracking apart. 17 species had either left the council completely or demanded major changes to how it operated. The Corvani had split into 2 groups, the old traditionalists, who wanted council protection, and the young innovators who dreamed of rebuilding their ancient legacy of invention. The Zentani were exploring space regions that had been forbidden for generations. Even some Velthari colonies had declared themselves independent, choosing uncertainty over the comfort of guided wisdom. Counselor Methys looked older than his 400 years. The green glow in his ancient eyes had dimmed. He stood in his private chambers, staring out at the stars through a crystal window. The council station felt empty now, with so many species gone or preparing to leave. "Perhaps we have failed," he said quietly to Ambassador Krill, who had become his closest advisor during these difficult times. "Or perhaps," Krill replied, "we succeeded too well. We made the galaxy so safe that its children forgot how to grow." Their conversation was interrupted by an emergency alert. Ships were approaching the station, not council vessels, but something else entirely. The sensors showed massive craft unlike anything in their databases. In the council chamber, an emergency session was called. The remaining species representatives gathered with fear and curiosity. On the main display screen, images of the approaching ships filled the room. They were beautiful and terrible, made of materials that seemed to bend light itself. The lead ship sent a communication request. When the channel opened, a being appeared on the screen that made every alien in the chamber fall silent. It looked somewhat like a Velthari, but older and more elegant. Its skin was like polished stone, and its eyes held the wisdom of millennia. "I am Archon Velinth of the Progenitors," the being said in a voice that seemed to resonate through space itself. "We have returned to observe what our children have learned, the Progenitors. The ancient race that had founded the Galactic Council thousands of years ago then disappeared into the depths of space. Most species had believed they were myths or legends, but here they were, returning at the moment when their creation was falling apart." Counselor Methys struggled to find words. "Honored Archon, the Council faces difficulties. Some species have chosen to leave our protection. We fear the galaxy may fall into chaos." Archon Velinth's expression was calm and knowing. "We know. We have been watching from afar, waiting for this moment to arrive." "You knew this would happen?" Ambassador Krill asked in amazement. "We designed it to happen," the Archon replied. "The Council was never meant to be permanent. It was a school, a place for young species to learn cooperation and basic civilization. But schools are meant to be graduated from, not lived in forever." The chamber erupted with confused voices. Species representatives demanded explanations. How could their protectors have planned for their abandonment? Archon Velinth raised one elegant hand, and silence fell immediately. "Long ago, we embedded a test within galactic civilization. We waited for a species that would choose growth over safety, independence over protection, innovation over stagnation. That species would signal that the galaxy was ready for its next stage of development. "The humans," Counselor Methis said, with sudden understanding. "Indeed, humanity passed the test we set for galactic civilization. They chose the difficult path of freedom over the easy path of guided safety. They reminded the galaxy that true civilization cannot be given. It must be earned." As the progenitors spoke, President Choi Seung-ho was arriving at the council station aboard a human vessel. With him came representatives from the 17 species that had left or reformed their council membership. But this was not a victory parade. President Choi understood that destroying the old order without building something better would only lead to chaos. The meeting that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. In the great council chamber, beings from dozens of species sat together not as protectors and protected, but as equals trying to solve a common problem. How could they maintain peace and cooperation without crushing the independence that so many now treasured? "We propose the Autonomous Worlds Alliance," President Choi announced to the assembled beings. "Not a government that rules, but a network that connects. Not protectors and protected, but partners working together." Dr. Song Haemin, now recognized as one of the galaxy's great philosophers, explained the concept. Instead of one central authority making decisions for everyone, each species keeps control of its own destiny. We share knowledge freely, we trade openly, we defend each other when asked, but we do not force our ways on others, and we do not accept limits on our growth. Admiral Baek Soo-young presented the military structure. Her fleet had grown to include ships and crews from many species, all working together by choice rather than command. "Our defense networks protect the right to be different, not the requirement to be the same," she explained. Dr. Kim Do-yoon showed the technological benefits. The joint research projects between independent species had advanced galactic science more in 2 years than the Council had achieved in 2 centuries. When beings were free to experiment and fail and try again, innovation flourished like life after rain. Not everyone was happy with the new arrangement. Some of the older Council species preferred the safety and certainty of the old system. They formed their own group, keeping the Council structure but limiting it to species that specifically wanted such protection. The galaxy became a more complex place, with different regions following different approaches to civilization. The Council still existed for those who wanted its guidance. The Autonomous Worlds Alliance grew rapidly as young species chose partnership over protection. Independent regions flourished where individual worlds made their own decisions about everything. There were conflicts, as there always are when people are free to disagree. But there were also innovations, discoveries, and achievements that amazed. Even the ancient progenitors, species that had been stagnant for centuries, suddenly burst with creativity. Technologies that had been forbidden as too dangerous led to breakthroughs that benefited everyone. Ambassador Lee Taemin became the first Secretary General of the Autonomous Worlds Alliance. His job was to help coordinate cooperation between independent species, never to rule them. He worked from a small office on a space station built jointly by dozens of worlds, each contributing their unique skills and knowledge. "It is ironic," he said to Colonel Park Nari, who now commanded the Alliance's integrated defense forces. "We rejected the Council to be alone, but we ended up more connected to the galaxy than we ever would have been as members." Park Nari smiled as she watched ships from a dozen species training together in the space outside their window. Maybe that is the difference between being forced together and choosing to work together. Dr. Yoon Hana had returned to Earth as an ambassador, helping other species navigate the transition to independence. She often thought about her years with the Council and how safe she had felt there. But she also thought about the excitement she felt now, working with beings who were discovering their own potential for the first time. The Council was not evil, she told young humans who asked about her experiences. It was simply too successful. It made life so safe and predictable that people forgot how to dream. As the years passed, the galaxy settled into its new reality. The progenitors remained for a while, offering advice but never commands. They watched with satisfaction as their ancient test finally bore fruit. A galactic civilization based on choice rather than compulsion, growth rather than safety, diversity rather than uniformity. Admiral Baek So-young, now an old woman, stood on the bridge of her flagship watching a joint training exercise. Human ships flew alongside Corvani experimental craft and Zentani exploration vessels. Young Velthari pilots tested new fighters designed with technology from 6 different species. "What do you think?" asked her aide, a young Corvani engineer, named Dex Brightforge, who had left his safe world to join the Alliance fleet. "I think," Admiral Baek replied, "that this is what the galaxy was always meant to become. Not a family ruled by wise parents, but a community of adults working together, because they choose to. In the end, humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy was not their technology or their military strength. It was their willingness to say no to a comfortable cage and yes to an uncertain freedom. They had reminded every species in the galaxy of a simple truth that the Council had tried to make them forget. Growing up means learning to stand on your own, even when standing is harder than being carried. The stars shone brighter in a galaxy where every world was free to reach for them.